You say you haven't been the same since you had your little crash, but you might feel better if they gave you some cash. The more I think about it, old Billy was right. Let's kill all the lawyers, kill them tonight. You don't wanna work, you wanna live like a kid.
Hey man,
Sorry, I didn't realize I was supposed to wear a tie today.
ain't it good to be alive and be in Tennessee?
Yes, you know, if I'd have known you were going to dress up and wear a tie and suspenders and,
I had
put
to
on a
be in-
suit,
you know, I'd be-
I'd have done the same thing.
I would have
today,
worn the
but,
same thing that you're wearing, minus the sandals.
Well, you know, it's
If I had beautiful feet too, I'd wear more sandals.
it's a Friday and I'm working solely in the office today and didn't have any clients today because I was working on some other things.
Yeah,
So
you know, and today's topic is a dirty word in the courtroom. You know, we can say a lot of things in the courtroom. We can probably, under our breath, dog cuss the judge, make comments.
Which we don't do, by the way.
We don't do, by the way. We could though.
but we've seen
It
people
probably
do it.
would not result in a mistrial. It'd probably result in a discussion in chambers about our language. We could probably even, you know, say cuss words in court. We never do that either.
Well,
and that would not result.
You probably won't get away with that either.
Well, yeah, and that would not
And
result.
we don't do it.
Well, we don't do it, but that would not result in a mistrial. And a mistrial basically is the trial's over. Oh, time out, done. This trial is shut down. There's one word that a lawyer can say in the courtroom that will shut down a trial. And the judge, without going to chambers, he might still go to chambers to wag his finger at you. But as a trial lawyer, we learned from early on the one word you cannot say in the courtroom is
Insurance.
insurance.
So let's talk.
Insurance.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit. And some jurisdictions allow. In fact, there's some jurisdictions.
But we're in Tennessee.
I think Louisiana, for
Yeah,
one of you, you
yeah.
actually can name the insurance company in your complaint. But in Tennessee, you can't talk about it.
Why
you
not?
can't name it.
Why can't I go in there and say State Farm Insurance is paying for the defendant's damages?
Well,
Why can't I say that?
The simple answer to that is because our court system has determined that if somebody has insurance or not, it's irrelevant as it relates to the underlying set of facts as to
Right.
who caused an accident. That's the basis.
Sometimes we file a complaint and we name the defendant individually, and the client will call up and say, I thought you were suing the insurance company.
That's right.
And what do we say there?
Well, we have to explain to them that we're not allowed to do that in Tennessee.
Because I think part of it also, John, isn't there's an element about bias that if the jury knows that little old frail Mrs. John Smith, who's 88 years old in a wheelchair, is not going to be the one writing the check to pay for our client's injuries, they might be more likely to award more money or money itself, right?
Well, I think you can look at that two ways.
Yeah.
If you're talking about bias, if you're keeping them from knowing, if they think that may be the logic for us not to be able to talk about insurance, you know, in a court case, is the little old lady maybe writing a check,
Right.
and that's what the jury may believe.
Right.
That, of course, is what the insurance companies would like, is they want to think that this poor little old lady's paying for themselves.
Right.
On the other hand, if you have somebody that could afford to pay for it,
Mhm.
the fact if the jury knew that there was insurance and knew that it really wasn't coming out of their pocket and knew that there was, you know, $250,000
Right.
in insurance, for example,
Yeah.
that the jury may be reluctant to
Yeah.
order a verdict in
Mhm.
excess of whatever the limits were. So you look at it both ways.
Well, you know, and I'm sensing kind of like you like the way it is right now, where insurance is not mentioned in the courtroom.
No, well, I think there is a way that makes sense.
Okay.
And Georgia does it,
Mhm.
and even in Tennessee, if you're in federal court, it does it. And that is where the parties can all learn what the insurance limits are.
Mhm.
So you know what insurance
Right.
policies are out there. You know what limits that the person that's being sued has. So you know what may exist. And in my opinion,
Right.
if you're able to discover that, that creates an environment where it helps get a case resolved
Mhm.
without incurring the additional expense of filing a lawsuit,
Right.
without having to hire experts, without having to take doctor's depositions, to where you actually know this is the amount that can be recovered. And in my opinion, that helps create a situation where a case is more likely to resolve and hold expenses down.
Say that the individual does not have insurance.
Right.
There are certain minimum requirements in Tennessee for insurance.
Exactly right. And in Tennessee, we have a financial responsibility statute which requires, and I'm going to just make it short, it requires that you either have $25,000 worth of liability coverage, or if you don't have that, you can post a bond with the state. There's a few other ways you can do it, but you have to show that you're going to be financially responsible for any accident you cause.
We've been doing this for 34 years, okay? You know, when's the last time you came across someone not having insurance but posted a bond with the state?
I can think of one time in 34 years that's happened.
Why would you do that instead of just paying nickel and dime for insurance?
Well, you should just pay for insurance.
Yeah.
Which leads to
but
something else.
what's liability insurance though? What does that word liability mean?
Liability insurance is the insurance that protects you
If you cause an accident.
if you cause an accident.
If you're careless.
you're at fault.
Yes.
That's correct.
And it kind of protects you individually, because
Correct.
if you cause an accident and get sued, you know, it's going to be out of your pocket unless you have liability insurance.
Correct.
And so we have a law in the books that protects really both parties. You know, it protects the person being sued from financial ruin, maybe, you know, and it protects the person that was hurt in the wreck from also being ruined.
To
And
be
so-
able to recover.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's also uninsured motorist coverage.
And that's the problem right there, because if you go to Tenova Hospital after an accident, they will run, and we know there's some hospitals that really have a big bill for diagnostic services.
Right.
They do a CT at Tenova from head to toe, and you walk out of there with a $21,000
Right.
diagnostic charge,
Right.
which will really eat up a $25,000 policy
They do.
right away.
They do.
So you're not going to be made whole if your liability policy, the person that caused the accident was $25,000. You leave Tenova with a $21,000 bill, and so what? If you follow medical care, go see a PCP, physical therapy, you are getting no money for pain and suffering, no money for lost wages, no money for loss of enjoyment of life, unless ding 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 ding, what? You have uninsured motorists.
Right. So uninsured motorist is something that there's the required minimum $25,000 liability coverage.
Which is not enough.
Not a, and what's available for anybody in Tennessee to purchase, along with the required liability coverage, is uninsured motorist coverage. And what that is designed to do, it protects you if you are injured by the fault of somebody else and that person does not have insurance.
Right.
Or does not have enough insurance.
Right.
So
Right.
there's one thing that you're required to have in Tennessee, and that's liability insurance, and one thing that you should have, and that's uninsured motorist coverage. And one thing that people need to understand is uninsured motorist coverage is relatively cheap.
It is. It's nickels and dimes for the coverage that you have. It really is. And I don't know why all insurance agents don't automatically just sell that, you know. Sometimes we have a policy, liability and uninsured motorist, you know, there's some insurance companies that focus on that, but it is so cheap to have and so important when you're, and really these people causing the accidents, they're not good drivers anyway.
Right.
And they have, and because they're not good drivers anyway, they have minimum coverage. And so when you get hit by a bad driver with minimum coverage, it's gonna come out of your pocket, even though it wasn't your fault, unless you have
The uninsured motorist.
uninsured motorists.
So there's another thing that we should probably talk about too that's relatively inexpensive. The most expensive part of buying automobile insurance is really that initial threshold of getting the $25,000 worth of
Yes.
coverage. If you start pricing insurance limits above $25,000, the cost of that just goes down drastically the more you purchase.
Right.
So typical policies are there'll be a $25,000 liability limit, $25,000 uninsured motorist coverage. The next limit you usually see is $50,000 liability, $50,000 uninsured motorist coverage. And then after that, we typically see $100,000 liability, $100,000 uninsured motorist coverage. After that, $250,000 and $250,000, $500,000 and $500,000, $1 million and $1 million. That's typically what we see. But when you start purchasing insurance from $25,000 to $50,000 and $50,000 to $100,000 and $100,000 to $250,000, those incremental jumps, the cost to buy that additional coverage is drastically lower than
It
what
is.
you would ever expect.
Right.
So it may cost you a few dollars more on the front end to have
Right.
extra coverage, but you should really consider having more than the minimum limits. Because these days,
Yes.
the minimum limits,
Hospital charges are going up, and really that might be something that we should probably maybe get involved in changing the law where
Right.
we have the limits at 50 instead of 25.
And,
Really,
and the legislature
it
should,
might be time to do that, because when was this law enacted?
yeah,
Where 25 was a minimum.
25 has been the minimum. I've been practicing law in this state since
Really.
1989.
I mean, just inflation and the cost of hospital services have gone up.
Well, I've been here in Tennessee since 1989. First with the Mississippi license in 1990, a Tennessee license, and ever since I've been in this state, 25 has been the minimum.
That's
So
it.
we know prices have gone up. We know what prices of homes have gone up, prices of food, prices of cars, prices of health care. Everything has gone
Right.
up. The legislature should address requiring a minimum limits to be even greater than
Yeah.
25,000. But that does not keep
You from doing it right
yeah,
now.
does
right
not
now.
keep people
right
from
now.
buying.
Right
So
now.
it's something that really, really and truly is going to protect you. It's not that much more money wise to buy additional coverage, and your insurance agent is going to love you to buy
Yeah,
additional
right,
coverage.
right.
So,
So takeaway points today, uninsured motorists is very important, and if you want to talk dirty in court, say the word insurance. This has been 2 Marks and 1 Mike.
or 2 Marks, 1 Mike.
See you next time.
Thank you, guys.